Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and for this video I want to talk about how to juggle multiple financial goals. If you are like me, you are going after many financial goals at one time. It can be a little bit overwhelming and sometimes discouraging because it just feels like there's not enough money for all the things that you want to save for or invest in or paying off debt, all of these different things. However, it is definitely possible to juggle multiple financial goals, and I want to go over a few steps to make it easier and a couple of options for you to choose from in regards to actually going after those goals. When it comes to financial goals, there are four main things that you can do with your money. The first one is saving money. So a big thing here would be your emergency fund or saving for a down payment on a home. Number two is paying down debt. Of course, this involves any sort of debt. Your car loan, student loans, credit card debt is a big one, personal loans, etc. Number three is investing your money. And this could be into retirement plans like a 401k or a Roth IRA or your brokerage account. And then number four, spending money, which tends to go hand in hand with saving money because a lot of times people want to save money to be able to spend that money on something specific. So maybe you are saving up money to travel or saving up money to make a bigger purchase. Not quite a house or anything, but maybe like a bag or a pair of shoes, and you are saving to spend that money. And oftentimes we have multiple goals under one of each of those categories. So we end up with tons of goals to try and go after in a month, in a quarter, in a year, in our lifetime. And it does tend to get really overwhelming. Before we get into everything, I wanted to say a quick thank you to the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. Y'all know how much I love learning more about finances, so I'm proud to partner with the Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular product, Stock Advisor. As of November 17th, 2022, Stock Advisor recommendations have returned an average of 363% since inception of the service. Go to fool.com/Layla, that's fool.com/LEILA to get your 10 stock picks now. But let's break this down step by step. Step number one is to determine your goals, of course, and that's the easy part. I think goal setting is really fun. I know some people don't like setting goals, but I think it's one of my favorite things in the world. I think it's fun to go after something, especially financial goals. It's something that I find very easy to keep track of, and it is just very straightforward when it comes to finances. If you want to save $1,000, and you put, $100 to that per month, then you will reach that in 10 months. It is just very straightforward math, and I love that about financial goals. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Step number one, just write down all of your goals and get that out the way. Step number two is to prioritize and evaluate those goals. Which of those goals that you wrote down are the most important to you? And this part is pretty important because this is very situational, and this also depends on the timing of when you're watching this video or when you're setting your goals. It depends on the happenings in life. So for example, I'm filming this in November 2022. We are going into a recession. We are experiencing high inflation, and there's just a lot going on in the world. So because of the timing of things, you may choose to prioritize one of your goals over another because saving up an emergency fund of X amount of dollars, for example, may be more important than saving to travel as we go into a recession. And again, this is completely situational. It is completely unique to every single individual. And whatever it is that you want to prioritize is completely up to you. Step number three is determining a timeline. And I know I kind of jumped to step number three pretty quickly, but that's because step 1 through 3 all tie in together. Because if your goal is to save $6,000 in an emergency fund in 2023, for example, you want to do this in a whole year. So your goal is to save $6,000 as an emergency fund. That is your number one priority, right? And then the timeline is 1 year. So that knocks out step 1, 2, and 3. Step number 4 here is to choose and stick to a plan when it comes to your goals, because there are a couple of ways you can go about doing things. There is the one thing at a time approach. So this would be you first tackle one goal and then you move on to the next. The second method is to work toward multiple goals at one time. And honestly, even if you're doing the first method where you're focusing on one goal at a time, there's still going to be a little bit of a mix of method 2 in there, depending on your financial situation. So if you are working toward and prioritizing a larger emergency fund, but you are also paying down debt, you have minimum balances to pay, so naturally you are going to have to tackle those goals at the same time. However, using method 1, that means you're putting more of your money toward your main goal, towards your top priority goal. And I do want to share some pros and cons with these two methods. So again, method 1 is where you're working and prioritizing one goal and then moving on to the next. The first pro of this method is that you are going to reach one of your goals faster, and then you can move on to the next one. And you may be able to tackle your goals in a pretty quick manner this way. This is also less overwhelming, so you don't have to worry about too many things. You're just dedicating the bulk of your money to a specific goal and then just letting your, autopilot on everything else, and you'll worry about those other goals later. The cons here is that there can be a large opportunity cost. So for example, if you are only prioritizing your emergency fund or only prioritizing paying down debt and you're not investing, or if you're not saving, whichever one, the opposite of it, if you're not doing it, then you are losing that. No matter what, if you are going to put more money towards something else, that means less money or no money is going to the other area. So if you're not investing at all, you are losing time in the market. You are losing dollar cost averaging, or just an opportunity for your money to grow. If you're choosing to prioritize your emergency fund and you're not putting extra to your debt payments, you may be paying a whole lot of money in interest on that debt. But if you prefer to have that emergency fund and feel stable with that, completely understandable. But just recognize that that is a con. There's always going to be a trade-off when you choose one and heavily focus on it. Now with method number 2, where you're paying a little bit to each of your goals for the year or quarter, whatever you're working toward, on a regular basis, there's pros and cons with this. The number 1 pro here is that you're getting closer to all of your goals. You're getting closer to achieving all of those goals, which is pretty amazing. The other pro here is that you are dollar cost averaging across all of your goals, which, that's typically a term you would use for investing, but if you are saving in a high yield savings account, you are also gaining interest on that probably. So that's a win right there. You're also investing, so you're putting your money in, letting the time work for you, letting your money work for you. You could also be paying down debt, and the more debt that you pay down, then the more interest that you save. And you're just getting closer and closer to financial independence. Working on your goals every single month obviously is going to improve all of those every single month. So slowly and surely with time, it is just going to compound. The con with this method is that you are not going to reach any of your financial goals as quickly as you could with the one at a time method. So it's just going to be slower progress because you're spreading your money between multiple things. Personally, I like a nice little mix of the two methods because that's kind of what I'm doing now. So my main priority, my top goal is to be completely debt-free. So on average, I'm putting about $1,000 per month toward my student loan debt. That's the remaining debt that I have left. But I'm also investing. I'm also saving. I'm just not investing or saving as much because I'm choosing to prioritize my debt pay down. So I am working toward every single goal, but putting the bulk of my money toward one of those goals. So I think it's a nice mix of the two. I think method 1 of focusing on one goal at a time is a really strong method for people to use if they do not have debt or if they don't need to continue saving for an emergency fund. They already have, pretty solid financial situation and they are just focusing on investing, for example. So let's say you first want to focus on maxing out your Roth IRA for the year. So you dedicate the first 3 to 4 months of the year to getting that max on your Roth IRA. And then the next thing after that is you want to max out your 401k. So you up your contribution, and until you max it out, you are only focused on that. After that, maybe you want to put X amount of money to your brokerage account. So after, I don't know, 7 months, you're able to max out your 401k, and then the rest of the year, you just focus on investing into your brokerage account. That is a great example of somebody who could use that method. With the second method, this applies to anybody. As I said, this is basically what I'm doing. I do a mix of both, but really it's putting a little bit to all of my goals because that's just how I prefer to do things. I want to be working toward all of my goals at the same time, and I'm okay with it taking a little bit longer. But if you have goals in all 4 of those areas that I mentioned at the beginning, I do suggest this method because then you can put $100 to each per month, $200 per each. You can do a percentage of your income to each, whatever it is that you're most comfortable with, or you can figure out a calculation that, you know, if you want to put a little bit more to one of your goals and then put a little bit less to something else, that's perfect. Honestly, there's no big secret when it comes to juggling multiple financial goals. And as I said, yes, it can be very, very overwhelming. And it just, at times, it feels like there's not enough money to do everything. And honestly, oftentimes there isn't enough money to do all the things. So yeah, I would love to max out my 401k, but I don't have the funds to do that right now. One day, I would like to get to that. But I'm able to invest, you know, maybe $10,000, $9,000 in the year. I'm also able to pay down over $10,000 of debt. I'm able to save a few thousand for various sinking funds, various spending goals, as well as for my emergency fund. So then I end up in an overall better financial situation, and I can go into the next month or the next quarter or the next year and rearrange everything, reprioritize and evaluate my goals, and then rinse and repeat. I think it's pretty fascinating. It's so cool, and with time, everything will get easier because once you pay off all your debt, you have one less goal to work toward, and that's a good thing because once you are debt-free, you don't have to worry about your past anymore. You can start focusing on your future. You can start investing for your future. As you reach one goal, it is very natural for you to come up with another goal or multiple goals from achieving that single goal, and that is completely normal. I prefer to work on goals on a yearly basis, but I break those down and I work toward them every single week, every single month. I think the easiest thing to do is to set the goals for the year, for the calendar year. So for example, 2023 is coming up. Lay out what you want to accomplish in 2023. And again, as I said, if you want to have $6,000 in your emergency fund by December, then you need to be putting at least $500 to that emergency fund every single month. It's just simple math. Same with your Roth IRA. If you want to max that out in the calendar year, then you need to, it's increasing for 2023, but you'll need to do about $540 per month to reach that goal. If you want to save $2,000 by July so that you can book a trip, then in the first 6 months of the year, that means every single month for the first 6 months of the year, you need to save about $333. And then of course you can keep going with this. So you can break it down by the quarter, by the month, by the week, by the day, and see what you need to do to get to all of those goals. When it comes to stuff like this, I feel like we tend to overcomplicate it, and it doesn't need to be complicated. Give yourself grace if you're not able to hit all of your goals. That is completely normal. Give yourself time and patience when it comes to finances because over time it will get easier and you'll be hitting those goals left and right. But yeah, while we are on the topic, feel free to comment down below what your big goals are for 2023. Y'all know that I'll have a video soon for my goals for 2023. I am pretty excited about it, but I would love to hear yours. I find them super motivating, so I'm sure others find that motivating as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.